Starting Social, we have Mr. Good Guy, Mr. Bad Guy, and Milo to count the points between them, right?
That makes me the ugly one, right?
I'm the oversharer, and he's the undersharer, and you're the, what, the sheriff?
We'll start with Andrew, if that's all right.
No.
You've just written a wonderful book, which we were very delighted to host you for.
Say it again.
You've just written a wonderful book.
What's it called?
It's called Digital Vertigo. It's available in all good bookstores now. We were delighted to read it at the Kernel. It's sort of, you're like a shining voice of common sense in an industry gone mad, aren't you, Andrew? Tell us about the central thesis of your book, and then we're going to see just how badly Robert's life matches up to how you think the good digital life should be led.
Well, the central thesis of the book is that we're oversharing, that we're building an architecture where the public and the private now are indistinguishable, and that all this social architecture, what we might think of as the cult of the social, is destroying many of the most essential and elemental things about us as human beings. It's doing away with our secrecy, our mystery. Living in public, in my view, in terms of the core identity of us as human beings, is being whittled away. And I use my dear friend Robert Scoble as an example of a man who is living inside out.
You're actually tweeting now.
I'm watching.
Are you tweeting now?
I'm watching.
For God's sake, God. You're right. Actually, the funny thing is, I've seen pictures of your home. I've seen pictures of your children. I've seen your television. I know what model of TV you have. I've seen your computer set up. I mean, you may think I'm overly fascinated with Robert's life, but it seems to be omnipresent.
You sound like you're stalking me, man.
I just really like Google+. Actually, nobody
really
likes
people.
Google+. It's actually just you, isn't it?
No, there's like 5 people.
There are 5 of you.
How many people like Google+ out there? See?
Somebody
5,
from Google
6,
said
7,
yes.
8 people?
8,
All right.
8 people. They're all here. They're all here.
And how many people do you have? I mean, you've got like 200 million people following you on Google+. Right?
1.7 million, something like that.
1.7 million people.
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think of Andrew's thesis that, in some way, the way in which you live might actually be dangerous?
I don't know about well, I don't know. No, it's not dangerous. It's brought so many good things into my life. I mean, if I want to go out to dinner tonight, I'll ask everybody on Facebook, where's the best Thai restaurant in London, and I'll get answers.
You did this last weekend. I invited you to my party, and you didn't show up.
Well, I heard there was a better party somewhere else.
What I'm interested in is if you've ever had any bad experience. I mean, do you get stalkers? You must get stalkers. People must know where you live.
They know where. I've never had a bad experience in home yet, and cross my fingers. People have met me in restaurants and stuff like that, but I like that. I'm open to that. That's why I live in public, because people who come by a table, have always added something to my life. They usually are bringing something to me or wanting to say hi. And I've had remarkable experiences. I've had tours of the White House. I've been on the deck of an aircraft carrier, while jets are landing on it because of this.
Well, you pretty much built your career out of publishing pretty much everything about yourself. Your opinions about products, your experiences with new technologies, your lifestyle. It seems to have been very profitable for you.
Let me ask Robert directly. Where's the real Scoble? What's inside? Are you purely relational? Is your entire identity derived from from the sense of the self you get from those 1.2 or 15 million Google Plus or Twitter or Facebook followers?
No.
Can you actually?
I did see the look of terror in your eyes when I took the iPad away. I mean, there was this sort of like I was sort of hacking off a lid.
Is it possible? Would it be possible for you to cultivate the self if you lost all your followers?
I didn't have followers 10 years ago.
I thought you were going to say I didn't have a self.
I was the same person. I liked meeting with the geeks. If I was at a cocktail party 10 years ago before I blogged and before I had a personal brand or whatever you call this thing that I built, I would find the geek and hang out in the corner and talk about, Windows computers or Mac computers.
What do you keep private?
My bedroom.
So that's it?
Although, there's 3 kids running around, so something happened there.
Right, okay.
And you've watched them grow up
be
born and grow up. My 18-year-old son just graduated from high school, and you saw pictures in almost real time as he was graduating. So yeah, you have a pretty good sense of who I am and what I do.
And you don't think there's too much of a gap?
You don't know the certain clubs I was at in Amsterdam.
I don't, but I think, you know, for the sake of your arrangement with Rackspace, perhaps we should move on.
Well, no, Rackspace, you know, I have pictures of me at a London party a couple of years ago kissing a guy
with a pink wig. I was in the room.
You were in the room.
Isn't that Michael Acton Smith's
I
house?
worked for a really cool company that didn't fire me for that. And I think this is the new
employment. Paul Carr on TechCrunch, wasn't it? Oh, Robert, did you think we wouldn't see these?
Oh, yeah.
that was pretty good. Yeah, it was a bit
Well, why don't we ask the audience, how many of you would be willing to go as far as Scoble in living so publicly?
There's a few.
There's a few.
So, by the way,
there are a few budding Julia Allisons out there in the
some
front
people
rows.
would get fired for posting drunken Saturday night pictures on their Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
There's people who've gotten fired for that, school teachers, stuff like that. I got invited to a much higher classic party ever since those photos came out. So
people are obviously wanting to rescue you from the
There
wigs.
is always a good and bad to this stuff. You asked if somebody is going to get killed because of this. The addictive nature of Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that is already killing people because we can't put the phone down while we're driving. We're texting and driving. Here, in where I live, they have a law against this now because so many people did it and got in accidents.
So, I mean, Andrew, isn't this really just a problem endemic to all technology as people try to make their platforms stickier so they can serve more ads? They do furious A/B testing of games like Angry Birds to make people play for as long as possible. Aren't the problems really more mundane than you're suggesting? They're actually just that people waste too much time, they're not as productive, and they have accidents.
I don't think the problem is as mundane as you're presenting it. I think there is a structural problem with the web economy, particularly represented by companies like Facebook and Google, who give their products away for free and then by definition have to essentially, and I use this word carefully, sell our personal data to advertisers. That, you know, if there was someone from Facebook...
Facebook doesn't do that, though. They sell access to us because of our personal data.
Well, you tell the difference between an ordinary user,
I
between
can't tell the difference.
selling the data and selling access to the data.
No, Rackspace is an advertiser on Facebook. We don't get to know, you know, any data.
But the reality
you get
is
access to Andrew Keane because he's a tech guy.
But I think for this audience, you have to understand that we're
alarms going off. Honestly, this is not just ruining your life, it's now ruining my life as well. Summer drinks in London today at 5. No, he's not going. Sorry, do carry on.
I think we're reaching a tipping point in terms of consumer attitudes. I think that Facebook in particular, but many of these other social companies are treading on incredibly thin ice. Consumers are very wary, they're very resistant. I wrote a piece about Facebook, critical of Facebook, about their business model and the way in which they use everybody's data. It got 20,000 Facebook likes on CNN, which is quite an achievement given it was an anti-Facebook piece. So I think that you social entrepreneurs out there who think that you can make a fortune and make a success selling data, you're in for a big surprise. I think the big new thing is going to be privacy. I'm really excited by companies like DuckDuckGo and EveryMe, whose core beginning as a company in terms of their product, their service, their app, their platform is privacy. I think that's going to be the next big thing. And I think social has climaxed.
I totally disagree about that. I totally disagree about that. People are changing their behavior every day because of the benefits of going over the freaky line. I call this a freaky line.
The freaky
Many
line?
people are on this side of the freaky line.
You're way over the freaky line.
I'm over here, right?
You're like a super freak.
You're super
For
freaky.
instance, I'm running PlaceMe on my iPhone right now that's studying every sensor and feeding that data up to the cloud, right? And I'm running highlights so people can see.
Why?
Because that way my Google car, when I get it, will automatically know which gas station I go to, which church I go to, which school I go to, which strip club I go to, where I work, where I live, and I won't have to program it.
I see. Well, the thought of that absolutely petrifies me. But since we're on the subject, well, let's tie it to the theme of this conference. Now, Andrew, you wrote a brilliant column, actually, for CNN, which quoted...
Say that again.
You wrote a brilliant column for CNN, which quoted me extensively to not entirely unconnected facts.
And Scoble.
Actually, you did, yes. Yeah. Would you like to summarize the point you were making about faster than real time in relation to privacy?
Well, I talked to Loic, I talked to Scoble, I talked to you about what faster than real time means, the theme of the conference. And as Scoble said, It's when your server knows what drink you want before you know it yourself, before you show up to the bar. Now, of course, in this sense, what Scoble's saying is that the computer server and the bar server become the same thing. That these new services highlight many of the others, Nick Halstead's thing, they're acquiring so much data about us that they know our intentionality better than we do.
By the way, I've already told Facebook 5,000 likes, one of which is I like Oban whiskey. Last night when I got to the Badu party, they handed me champagne. I have not liked champagne. I don't like champagne. I want to signal to the world I don't like it.
You want Oban whiskey?
They handed me a champagne. If this was the new world, they would have had my Oban whiskey sitting there at the beginning.
Jessica Powell when we finish. I see. So you think that it's really just about great convenience, and this is a way to improve your life.
Facebook is a new media company that brings you media based on who you are. It needs to know who you are to serve you. You click like on Manchester United, all of a sudden you're getting media about
Who likes Manchester United?
Nobody anymore.
Not here.
Well, I like the San Francisco 49ers, and I don't get information about Manchester United because I don't click like on that, but I'm talking to the UK audience. So
okay, so what about
I assume most people here are into Manchester United, not the San Francisco 49ers, right?
I have no clue.
How many in the audience are for Manchester United?
Yes, this is the really important question of the day.
You have to leave now, I think.
No, there are two wankers at the back. No, I think that's pretty much it.
Wait, what kind of audience is this? Are you all from France or
I
something?
I think they have as much interest in football as I do. So what about the filter bubble problem then?
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly telling all of these services what you like and what you don't like, and by the way, that's probably based on your sort of internet persona rather than you. I know that certainly mine is a little bit different from how I am.
Well, you're a weird guy, I think, aren't you?
Well, on the internet.
Not in person.
Well, people say I'm all right in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you see, I tell the internet I like things I don't really like all the time.
What like?
Sorry?
What do you tell the internet you like that you don't really like?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to come back to that. You're the one being interviewed. So the problem is that I then don't receive. Let's presume for a second that I am giving the internet full and accurate information about all of the things that I really love. I then stop receiving information about other stuff. There are some potential problems here. The problem that Ellie talks about in his book, which is, for example, that you start to only receive things which cohere with your own political philosophies.
Well, there's another side of that filter bubble. Broken Bottle Boy. I'm watching Twitter, by the way, so
he's one of my
I see everybody, talking to me in real time. But he says, what makes me think that everybody is interested in what I do or who I am? I don't. I want the filters to work on. If they only want to see techniques from me, that's great. If they only want to see my kids' photos, that's great too. You should be able to set up the filters to see what you care about from me. And we're going to need more and more filters as sorts of data start streaming off of us.
Milo's point about filter bubbles in terms of our life. I mean, we already know the problem with filter bubbles when it comes to newspapers and political opinion. So Eli Paresa wrote an excellent book saying, now on the internet you simply get your own ideas confirmed. You never get, if you're a conservative like Milo, you'll never get any access to liberals.
Steady on.
You are conservative.
Well, libertarian.
Sort of.
I like to think of us as pro-business, really.
Well, anyway. But we're going to get the filter bubble problem now in terms of our very identities. So Scoble says, he likes a certain kind of whiskey. And he wants that whiskey to be served up everywhere he goes. Well, we are losing, but the point is that we're destroying serendipity. We're never going to get the chance to try anything.
I totally disagree about that too. I totally disagree about that.
Where's the serendipity if they're serving up, if everyone knows what you like and who you like, and you're finding that everywhere you go?
Because serendipity, everybody knows I like Oban, and when I go out tonight, I guarantee you somebody will bring me a whiskey that's not Oban and say, you should try this because it's better than Oban. And that's how serendipity works. By the way, you asked, how do I learn about a new whiskey? That's what advertising's for. Advertising can say, hey, at the bar, we'll give you a free one tonight of this new whiskey, and you can try something new. And then I can make a choice. Do I go with the one that I know I like, or go with this one that I haven't tried? This is what advertising's done for years.
But what about on say, a highlight or one of these new social location networks? They have this faith that they're going to engineer serendipity, that you and I, we didn't know each other, we happened to be in the same bar, we had friends in common or interests in common, we would be introduced. That's doing away with the magic, the mystery of what life is. Those accidental meetings.
Are you telling me that highlights correct supposition that you guys would be a
No, it
match
wouldn't
made
be.
in heaven?
Yeah.
This is not something you would want to happen.
I disagree because, for instance, at Facebook the other day, I was at the press conference and Boris Becker walked in. Somebody had to tell me Boris Becker walked in. What if he was on highlight and I would see, oh my God, a sports star I like is here and nearby, and I could message him,
If you
hey,
like
Boris,
him
can
that
I get a
much, how do
picture?"
you not know what he looks like?
How do you feel if you're Boris and everywhere
he's
you go,
old now.
people know
I had dinner with Peter
Imagine,
Frampton.
imagine being him.
I had dinner
my
with
God,
Peter Frampton.
50 people in the room get their pockets start buzzing and they all look round and think, oh, for fuck's sake, they've got highlight as
How
well.
many in the audience is on highlight or one of these new social location
There's
apps?
about 20 people on highlight right now, yeah.
Yeah.
How many of
can
you
tell
think
us,
that
can't
it's
you?
going to
Oh,
give
yeah.
you more
Why don't you
serendipity?
find someone in the audience who's matched up with you? But let's bring somebody up who's, or we can just say hello to them actually,
Yeah.
who highlight thinks you will like. And while you're doing that,
Well, it
talk to-
doesn't. It only shows people who are on highlight who are within 100 yards of me. So
Okay.
it shows me people that I don't like, I wouldn't like, or I would like.
Well, all right, we'll pick somebody that you
Yeah.
don't like then.
Well, let me show you.
Why don't you find somebody you don't like?
Show me.
And while you're doing that, talk to us. I'd like to ask you one more question about this political problem. Now, one thing that a lot of people have observed with Twitter is that it tends to polarize political debate. People get, there's that boo, hooray style of discourse.
Yeah.
Now, isn't the same thing going to happen when you only ever see material that is aligned to what you've described as to be your interests, your predilections, your prejudices, actually? If you're never exposed to material that challenges you, isn't there a really serious problem for human intellectual inquiry and discovery later in life when everything we receive is tailored to what we think
Right.
we like in our 20s?
And I think the point about social media is that the real point is it's not social. It actually is more and more reflecting an individualized, or radically individualized culture. The real social is being destroyed by the social web.
Well, wasn't it Enoch Powell said something about you can put social in front of a word and be guaranteed that it'll reverse the meaning, sort of social enterprise, social commerce, social media. Pick somebody. Thomas Stone, I know Thomas Stone. Where is Thomas Stone? Where are you, Tom?
There were a few people begging me to call them out on stage.
Oh, really? Oh.
that's why
Well, we're not going to choose any of those.
No.
Well, anyway, it's found somebody that I know and that I know you'd probably be interested to chat to. That's cool. All right, but then Twitter did it as well, didn't it, with Broken Bottle Boy? It's actually one of my reporters.
Yeah,
So
well,
he'd be very
Danvers
keen to-
is saying, why are Americans so obsessed about certain whiskeys? Because I've drank a lot of whiskey and I like certain ones.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. Why are we obsessed about Britney Spears? I don't know.
People just ping and buzz and contact you continuously.
Yeah.
How does it not get infuriating? I mean, God, you must think this kind of life would be hell.
Yeah, I don't have any friends. I'm the anti-Scoble.
That's because of your opinions, darling. It's not because you don't have highlights.
Is it? You see, well, I have no friends. I have no relationships. And I think I'm a much happier person. Is that true, Robert?
I don't know, but I have better whiskey tonight.
I'm gonna suggest that's quite a logical conclusion for us, actually. So I'm gonna leave you to your crazy life, which obviously is very colourful.
I think you envy him. I think Milo wants to be the next Scoble.
I don't think the world's ready for pictures of my bedroom.
You need to grow a beard.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. This is like a week's growth. This is all I can do. It doesn't even join up. My dad didn't have a beard till he was 30. All right, well, thanks, chaps. I'm sure that we're not going to reach a meeting of the minds, but we can at least shake hands on that.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Good job.
Andrew Keenan and Robert Scoble, thanks so much.
Buy the book.
Yes,
Buy
buy
the
the book,
book.
Digital Vertigo. It's very good.